Dear Diary, things are going along nicely and we've got two big games coming up to start September. Our first opponent is Manchester City, led by my predecessor at Arsenal and Sérgio Conceição, who left at the start of the season to take the reins at the Etihad Stadium. And after that we'll take on my former team, Cardiff City, who are struggling at the bottom of the table. Will they improve without Mikel Arteta, and can we stay on top of the Premier League? Until next time. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 85 of FMOE here on Shaun Does FM with Arsenal. I hope you are doing well, and coming up today, two managers return to their former clubs. First off, it is the former Arsenal manager in Sérgio Conceição, as he returns now in charge of Manchester City. Big game that, as first, does take on fourth. Hopefully we can prove him wrong for making that move, and off the back of that we return to our former club who we left to take charge after Sérgio did leave to go to the Etihad, and that is Cardiff City, who at the moment are still managerless and on bottom of the Premier League table. So if you're looking forward to these two interesting games in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated, but we've played no games since yesterday's episode where we did take on Chelsea in the Premier League and then Real Sociedad in the Champions League. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. We did just draw there against Chelsea, but thankfully picked up a win against Sheffield United with our away tactic these days of a gegenpress, and it does mean we are now 1 point clear on top of the table of Aston Villa with a game in hand over Liverpool. Also 1 point behind us. There's actually a good chance for us here to grab a decent gap on Manchester City. We could go 9 points clear of them if we do win this game, and that should set us up to be in a nice position to be qualifying for the Champions League come next season, which was the goal here for this season at Arsenal in the Premier League, to finish in that top four. But an interesting matchup, as I said, taking on the former Arsenal manager. But to be fair, it is a very good team, this Man City one. That is the reason we were also in the hunt to take over that job before, unfortunately, Sérgio did get that one over us. They've got the likes of Erling Haaland up front, Rodri in the midfield, and got some good elder players these days in the likes of Kimmich, Chilwell, Laporte, and Diaz, as long as Ederson in goal. It's a strong team, but hopefully, based on the form so far this season, we can pick up a win. And then, probably the more interesting game for us in today's episode, albeit it's one I would say we are expected to win fairly heavily, as we head to Cardiff for the first time since we did leave them at the start of the season to take charge at Arsenal and see what's gone so wrong after we did get them into the Champions League last season. They are bottom of the Premier League, have sacked Mikel Arteta these days. John Terry is the interim manager, but Marco Rose from RB Leipzig is on his way, but not too sure if he will get there before we do take them on only a few days off the back of this Manchester City game. But based on their recent form, fair to say that is a game that we should be winning, and also a bit of a preview potentially of an EFL Cup quarterfinal, which we are playing in a couple of weeks' time against these guys. Hopefully that is a tie, which we can also win and make the final four of that competition, even though the board don't really care too much about it. I think for now we are going to continue to play our rotation team in that one and see where it does take us. But those are the two games coming up in today's episode. Not much has happened, of course, off the back of yesterday's one, so we'll get straight into the action today, and we'll come back shortly for the team sheets for this big clash, the first one, as we take on Manchester City from the Emirates. And here are the team sheets for this first game of today's episode. There we are at home in some good form, but we are switching to the tiki-taka, seeing as this is a home game, that gegenpress only being used away, and we are at full strength for this one, so hopefully can pick up some points against the former Arsenal manager, putting out a very strong lineup there at Manchester City. And as I said earlier, hopefully grab a good break on those guys down in fourth position. And a very early highlight in this game, only 2 minutes in, we are in position, albeit on the halfway line. Saliba here will pick out Saka down that right-hand side. Good 1-2 there between him. And Gabriel Jesus takes a shot, which Ederson just watches, nearly sneaks into the back of the net, but it comes off the crossbar, so a good early chance, but still 0-0 at the 5-minute mark. And around about 10 minutes off the back of their opening highlight, we are about to get a throw in here inside of the Manchester City half, so it's been a decent start for us in this game. We try and play a ball over the top. It's a shocking error that from homegrown Pedersen, and Gabriel Jesus is there to pick up the crumbs, buries that one bottom right corner, and Sergio is going to be feeling a little bit nervy about this. All of a sudden, it's a bad error there from the Man City right back, I presume, and Jesus with a first-time finish just inside that far post. It's a gift, but we'll take it. 1-0 Arsenal. And not too long off the back of their opening goal, yet again we have the ball here inside of the Man City half just past the 20-minute mark, and Tierney will pick out Odegaard and gets it back down that left-hand side, but so far a very good start for us, albeit that goal we did score a bit of a gift. That one would not have been a gift. It would have been an absolute screamer from Coop Miners, but Ederson with a very good save there, keeping that one out of the top right corner. Off the subsequent corner, Man City do deal with it for now, but Odegaard on the edge of the box plays this one back for Coop Miners yet again. Tries to pick out that top left corner, in fact, but it goes over the bar. So we are still 1-0 up halfway through the first half. And that was it for the first half in this game, and we take a 1-0 lead into the sheds. As you can see, it's been a pretty good performance so far, not as dominant as we have been with the Gegenpress, but still well and truly on top with Man City, having not registered a shot on target. Maybe tightly marking Erling Haaland is paying off for us, but obviously quite happy with how this one is going. Hopefully we grab a cushion goal at some stage during the second half. We'll get things back underway. 1-0 up. And on the 69-minute mark, no highlights so far in the second half, but we are still well and truly on the front foot, but our two wingers are down to red hearts, so we'll take those guys off. Trincao out left and Carvalho out right for these last 20 minutes. Still 1-0 Arsenal. And only a few minutes off the back of that previous lot of substitutions, we are going to make our last three here because three players are down to red hearts. Both our defensive midfielders are on those, so Ugarte and Patino can come on for them, and also Singo for Tomiyasu at right back. Still 1-0 up with 15 minutes left. And we are inside the last 5 minutes of this one. No highlights so far in the second half, but to be fair, we don't mind that. Man City are yet to test us. No shots on target. To be fair, the goal that we scored was pretty fortunate, but at least we've actually tested their goalkeeper, and that is a big win against the former Arsenal manager, even though it was only by a scoreline of 1-0. Bad error early from the Man City right back, and Gabriel Jesus tucked that one away just inside the far post, and that was the difference maker, albeit based on stats. Hard to argue, we did not deserve a win from that game, and as mentioned earlier, that should make sure now we have a big gap over fourth place on that Premier League table, and it might just mean if we can continue this good form that we have built up since we have taken over here at Arsenal, apart from that Aston Villa result, of course, a few episodes ago, we might be starting to get ourselves into a bit of a title race potentially with Aston Villa and Liverpool. Will be interesting to see how long Aston Villa can stay up there with some of the pre-season favourites, but that is a very good result, even though that game did not have too many highlights in it, and it does mean that we do stay on top of the table by 4 points for now, and we'll come back shortly and take on our former club, our first trip back to Cardiff, who are still bottom of the table off the back of a 3-2 defeat away at Everton. And here are the team sheets for our trip back to Cardiff. There you can see them in terrible form. They are still sticking with that 4-2-3-1, albeit a few interesting selections in there in terms of personnel and also positions. Drolley at right back in particular. We did sign him more as a promising midfielder. Come centre back. In terms of us, a lot of rotations, some tired players, and considering where the two teams are on the table, this did feel like the game where we could just tear some of these rotation players, especially looking forward to that EFL Cup quarter-final, but early on here it is a highlight in our favour. A corner Kamara there, far post, does test out Mexado, nearly makes a meal of that, but thankfully for them, one of the Cardiff players does clear their line, so an early chance, but still 0-0 coming up to the 5-minute mark. And there's a few early highlights in this one, just shy of the 10-minute mark. It is Cardiff here looking to play out from the back there as El Bloshy, one of the players we probably should have signed actually because of those homegrown requirements. Great chance here for Balea staying up front today, but that one comes off the inside of the post and doesn't make its way over the line. That's a big chance there. Still 0-0 at the 15-minute mark. And only a few minutes shy of half-time, one last corner for us here in this first half, but Mixado does come out to claim it. We've been well and truly the better team so far in this game with our Gagan press away from home, but so far have not found a way to put the ball in the back of the net. But Cardiff here will look to play out from the back as they did do previously under our management. Of course, the team that we spent the longest time so far at in the save. Now Patino starts to make his way forward. Trincao pinches that one off of Drolle. That's a big chance, but blasts it wide. That's now our striker and our left winger, who have blown some pretty good chances, albeit to be fair to Berea. His one at least did come off the post, but as you can see, very good first half. The scoreline still 0-0. We're going to make a few changes up front with Trincao and Berea being on poor ratings, so Martinelli and Jesus can come on for them, and also Zinchenko did pick up a yellow card, so Kieran Tierney will come on for him. There'll be 3 of our subs used at half-time, and hopefully we can put the ball in the back of the net during the second half. Still 0-0 at our former club here in Wales. And nearly 10 minutes into the second half, we get our first highlight of it, and Patino here starts to get us on the front foot. Carvalho, he should find some space here down this right-hand side, albeit for now do keep it centralised, but Carvalho, nice ball over there for Gabriel Jesus. He also hits the post, but then Musa Niakate with some shocking bit of work there at the back. He was just too lackadaisical in his time there on the ball, and Gabriel Jesus robs it right in front of Mixado, tucks it away bottom right corner. It's not a pretty goal, very similar to what happened previously against Man City, albeit this one a lot closer to the goal line. It's another bit of a gift, but we'll take it. 1-0, 10 minutes into the second half. And about 10 minutes off the back of that goal, which did put us in front, we're going to make a change here because Ugarte has picked up a yellow card. Coop Miners will come on for him. Still 1-0 Arsenal. And with around about 15 minutes to go, and this one just checking on some player fitness with that one substitution left, I think the safe idea here might be to take off the defender who is down to a red heart. So Tomiyasu will come on for these last 15 minutes, still on the front foot, but only 1-0 up. Cardiff still with some chance here of pinching some points off the league leaders. And eventually we do get a highlight in the second half, thankfully, because it did look like for a minute there we might get a highlight this second half for the second game in a row, but Martinelli puts that one over the top, but Jesus with a fairly weak header there, and Mixado will deal with that in goal. We'll pump this one deep, looking for Dominguez, but Tomiyasu will snuff that one out, plays it back to Carvalho. Coop Miners off the bench, and now we're just playing along with the ball here down this right-hand side, but eventually Carvalho does start to get us on the front foot, and Vieira there gets pushed right on the penalty spot there. I think that was from either Jashari or Olaveum. We are going to wait here for the referee to go over to his screen, but I think that one was pretty clear cut. They usually don't get overturned, and I think here one of our players should get a chance from the penalty spot, and I think with who's out there, it should be Coop Miners. We'll just wait and see though, because can't remember if I adjusted the penalty takers a few episodes ago. It's Jesus. He takes the penalty. He blasts it wide. We are just awful at penalties, but still 1-0 up with 7 minutes left. Hopefully that one doesn't prove too costly. And about to enter injury time in this game, we've been well and truly on the front foot. As you can see, our XG 4.8, but somehow have only scored the one goal. And inside the last minute, it's a late corner here for Cardiff. They float this one into the centre of the box. Thankfully, we deal with it for now. Emil Force, one of our new signings when we did sign, before we did make the jump to Arsenal, has a shot there, puts it over the bar. We've picked up a few late yellow cards in this one. It has not been as flattering a scoreline as it probably should have been 2 games today. We had not a lot went on, truth be told, but they did look like they would be interesting games. Storyline-wise, should have won that game 2-0. Gabriel Jesus, yet another miss from the penalty spot. We are now in a terrible run with our penalties, but thankfully it's not costing us too much. Only a 1-0 win, but we will take that away at Cardiff. As we know, they are a lot better than where the table has them currently. Hopefully that does improve once their new manager, Marco Rose, does join them properly and take over from John Terry, because certainly don't want to see our former club get relegated after we did leave them at the start of the season, but a solid win there. Could have been better, but certainly there was also an opening there for us to get FM. Thankfully, it did not happen, and we pick up another 1-0 win to stay on top of the Premier League table. And back in the inbox off the back of those two games in today's episode, 2 1-0 wins. Unfortunately, both games, not many highlights in them, but two good results, especially that first one at home to Manchester City and also away at Cardiff, even though they are struggling. That could have been a tricky game against our former team, but thankfully we did get the job done despite that late miss from the penalty spot from Gabriel Jesus. That's probably these days the only concern here at Arsenal. Our penalty taking has not been very good so far this week, so hopefully that does improve in the near future, but it does look like for now the tiki-taka at home and gegenpress away, switching up those styles is working and does make sure we are keeping up a good run of results. And going over to have a look at the Premier League table in a little bit more detail, albeit we were the first game on that match week in the midweek one. We are now 4 points clear of Aston Villa, albeit all those teams behind us do have a game in hand, but potentially most importantly, 12 points clear of Man City and those teams behind them. That should mean now, even though we aren't quite at the halfway stage of the season, we are going to be in a very good position to qualify for the Champions League next season, and that was the goal here at Arsenal. And also, while we are on the subject and have a little bit of free time with this episode, probably not taking quite as long as I was expecting in terms of the dynamics. Of course, a few episodes ago, these were just struggling a little bit with Bella Kotchup and Grass being a bit annoyed about me leaving them out of the Champions League squad these days. They're not quite so annoyed, less players agreeing with Bella Kotchup being left out of the Champions League squad, so it does mean our dynamics are a lot better. The dressing room atmosphere is excellent, so we should not be in any danger of getting sacked here at Arsenal, thankfully, as you would expect with this run of form that we have built up, and hopefully we can continue that for a fair while yet. But that will do it for today's episode. Two potentially difficult games there that we did get through with 1-0 wins. If you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well when we come back for tomorrow's episode, the last one of the week. I think we're going to get for a decent chunk of December. During that episode, first up, it is our last Champions League phase game for a little while, and it's our toughest one left in the season with only 3 games left before we do enter the knockouts. In that competition, we travel to Dortmund and see how we do get on against the team from the Bundesliga, and then off the back of that, I think we'll play a few games off camera, including that EFL Cup quarterfinal against Cardiff City, and we'll come back on Boxing Day and take on Liverpool, one of the fellow title favourites for this upcoming season. Can we pick up a result as we host those guys at the Emirates? We should get for a decent chunk of gameplay during tomorrow's episode. Dortmund in the Champions League and Liverpool in the Premier League. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.